We're not going to do a storytelling exercise called emotional genres or emotions. I don't know what the hell the name is anymore.
Right.
But the basic gist of it is I'm going to tell the story. Periodically through this story, Fred is going to call out an emotion. I then have to weave that emotion into the story. So if he calls out angry, suddenly the characters in my story have to get angry, and I have to justify it and keep it moving. So he's probably going to go through about 4 or 5 different emotions as we switch in the story. So we're going to move Fred off camera so that you don't have to look at him, which I know you thank me for. And I'm going to tell a story, and Fred, whenever you're ready, after I go for a little bit and set it up, you can start calling out emotions. Stephen lived in a very isolated part of his country.
Timid.
He was really nervous about doing anything. He liked to live away from everybody.
Angry.
Because he had gotten so wronged 100 years ago, he's very old, that he was so pissed at people, all he could think about is revenge, and he knew that would make him unpopular with the people. One day, the most joyous thing happened. He opened the newspaper and he saw the picture of the person who had wronged him. He's like, I can get my revenge finally! But the other person lived in the middle of a big, big city. And Stephen couldn't go out. He was so timid, he couldn't go out. And now he just got sad. He's like, I know where my enemy is, but how can I go in the middle of all these people? And he said, you know what I need to do is I need to pick up the phone and call someone. And he picked up the phone, he knew someone lived in the city, and it rang 3 times and he hung up because he was like, I can't talk, I can't ask. So he tried it one more time, let the phone ring.
Excited.
And before he could hang up, the other person picked up, and it was his ex-girlfriend Sheila, and he said, oh my God, Sheila, I can't believe you answered. Listen, you know that guy who wronged me 100 years ago? Well, he's in your city, and I want to come and get revenge. Can I come and then stay with you while I do that?
Stoned.
And she said, who is this? What are you talking about? And Steve was like, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number. Was that?
Drunk.
And Steve said, listen, you, who are you again? Damn it, I don't care, I'm getting in my car and driving over there right now. Okay. And so, our story can continue. I'm sorry to have ended that before we let you know whether he got his revenge or not. So
I don't necessarily suggest you use drunk and stoned as 2 of the emotions because depending on the situation you're in, that may not be appropriate. But for our purposes, I wanted to throw in a little something.
Yeah, and actually that brings up a good point. People get hung up on exact wording, and we've done this before where we ask for emotions and someone says drunk, and people are like, oh, it's not an emotion. It's like, whatever. We're talking mental states. It's a state is what it really is. Yeah. So this is, I think you learn a few things from this exercise. Number 1, it's about expressiveness. Yep. So when you take on an emotion, you don't just stand there and say, yeah, you don't just stand there and say, well, Stephen got very angry. It's like you gotta let the anger come out, which translates into storytelling for one when you're giving a presentation. Not just storytelling, but if you're giving a presentation trying to fire people up, you be fired up.
The tone of voice, the physicality, the wording, all of that.
Yeah, and letting those emotions come out even when you're just chatting with people I mean, not getting angry at them, but if you're like doing a sales pitch or something, having a little emotion is good. From the creative standpoint, it's about switching. Every time Fred would call out a new emotion, you'd have to switch things instantly.
Right, which is the ability to sort of think on your feet, feel on your feet, if you will.
Yeah, and the way that makes this game work well is that you feel the emotion first, and then you figure it out. Because if you noticed, he would say angry or whatnot, and we'd start the story in that anger, but then you'd have to explain, well, why did they get angry? And then tying it back to the old things, because we started with timid, but we kept that timid through line running because that was still part of the story. Now that is an advanced creative method, but it's really vital when it comes to doing improv and telling stories and putting it all together.
Perfect.